Okay, so first of all, welcome to the Meetup Spot, Johnny.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So to start off, number one, tell me about yourself.
So I call myself a mortgage lender by day and a phenomenal, well, I call it, you've heard of life coaching, right? I do a
Hmm.
fun life coaching. That's the name of my company that I was able to
Nice.
launch back in 2020, which
Ooh.
is where we basically help. Originally, we started out with helping the real estate professionals to be able to close more high value deals, to achieve financial freedom, to be able to live the life that they've always wanted. And then over time, it just kept evolving and kept growing and kept, just getting bigger and bigger. And now we primarily just serve the Christian community, help them
Oh,
to be able to achieve the financial freedom they're looking for without sacrificing their time, their family, their faith, or their joy. Um, and so those are the two things that I'm excited about. But there's a couple other things we also do as well, like event emceeing and public speaking and nonprofit work. So, man, just take your pick.
all right. Thanks. Um. Okay. Before I move to the next episode, I just want to tell you, I'm here. I'm here in Alberta. Where do you live? Where are you at now?
I am located in I call it the booming metropolis of Tyler, Texas. We're about an
Oh,
hour and a
nice,
half,
Texas.
yeah, hour and a half east of Dallas Fort Worth, in between the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex and the Shreveport, Louisiana county line.
This is yeah. Well, this is perfect because people say Alberta is Canadian Texas.
Fantastic.
Yeah, yep. People say that. All right. Next is tell me your growing up story.
Man, my growing up story.
Yep.
We just basically four sisters, one brother, two parents, mom and dad. We basically grew up. Both my parents were working. We grew up pretty much here in the community where we live in now. Both of them were working. We didn't really grow up with much, very limited resources, funds. They both worked, tried to do what they could to support us. But growing up, we come out of the restaurant business.
Oh,
And
oh,
I
dang,
started
nice.
I started working and cleaning tables at the age of 11, 12 years old, and uh, just kind of worked my way up through the ranks, got into the kitchen, got into, serving tables. And it wasn't until I got into serving tables where I found out that you could make more money serving tables than you could working in the back of the kitchen. And that's where I got recruited into sales. And at the age of 19, I got into sales and dropped out of high school, dropped out of college because I was making more money in sales than I would have had I gone to go be what I was going to go to school for, which was it was health and kinesiology with a minor in psychology, and ended up making more money in sales at the age of 19. And I figured, you know what? I don't need college. I'm out.
Really, you
So
don't
I've
need.
been
Okay.
I've been
Oh,
in sales the whole time. So.
okay. Two things. What was the restaurant? What was the restaurant business like for you?
It was good. It was good. It was Mexican food. So if you like Mexican food,
Nice.
man, it's pretty good. We were able to eat sometimes whenever the kitchen made a mistake, they would just send it back and we would eat it.
Okay, and so Mexican food. Are you Mexican yourself or
Yeah, yeah, I was born in Matamoros, Mexico,
nice?
and probably, man, I was probably less than 2 years old whenever my family had came to the United States. So I grew up here pretty much. I don't really
Oh,
remember anything from Mexico or living in Mexico.
oh, okay. Okay. It just I want to ask you that. Sorry, because honestly, so first, so you came to Mexico so you came from Mexico to the U.S.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And primarily just, stayed here. We tried to move out. We moved to Houston for a little bit, and then we moved to Nashville, Tennessee for a little bit, and didn't quite work out, so we came right back home.
Okay. And because I just asked because because I too came because I came from somewhere. Yeah, Philippines. Came to Canada, came to Alberta from the Philippines.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, I know. So next is how did you so you said you didn't need college though. How did you manage to work it out with sales without needing college?
So what we were selling back then was basically a product or a service where people could vacation in a manner that would basically save them money and made really good money as a 19. I did it for about 2.5 years, and then I got out of that to go work into the home security systems, selling security systems door to door. That went really well. Got into selling cell phones at a local, it's now Verizon, but the company before Verizon that Verizon bought out was working there.
Oh,
Then I got into auto sales, stayed in the automobile dealership world for probably the longest length of time, probably about 15 years. Only sold for about 2 years. The rest of the time I was working in the finance department where we were helping to secure financing for people with less than perfect credit. And that's how I was able to use that to bridge my transition in my career from the car dealership world to the banking business and ultimately the mortgage world.
oh, okay. And okay. Three. Last week by the time of this taping, um, by the time recording, we when we had the club officers meeting here in District 99
Yeah.
in Edmonton, Alberta, you talked about being a bathrooms MC. Can you explain that story?
Yeah, it's actually the back of the room,
Oh
MC.
yeah. Oh, backrooms. I was right. I was right. I was right the first time.
Yeah, it's the back of the room MC, and it's kind of like if you've ever watched sports, you typically have two commentators. One is the play-by-play. The other guy is going to be kind of like your color commentator, kind of helps fill some of the dead air whenever there's not a play going on or there's a timeout or we'll be back from this. We'll be back after a word from our sponsor, kind of thing. And the back of the room MC, when you go to these big events, what happens is that there's a lot of dead air and people don't really know what's happening, what's going on. And the back of the room MC is kind of like your color commentator. It helps to kind of, give instructions, hey, we'll be rejoining back in 5 minutes after your 5 minute breaks. Come back to your seats. I like to give them a 2 minute warning. People who like
Ah,
sports know
that.
how that works. And hey, in 1 minute, let's get back. And if people aren't back in their seats, we try to create this energy to be able to bring everybody back from the hallways and get them in their seats to make room for the MC to go ahead and introduce the next speaker. Because some of these events, man, people love to talk. And if you don't stay on track, just like being a speaker at Toastmasters, that red card comes out and you're out of time.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I believe you convinced the person who was there too.
Yeah, I was able to convince that person to give me a shot. And it just so happened that somebody in that at that event was from Chicago, and they
Oh,
came to me at the break and said, "Hey, we would love for you to come and bring that type of energy to our main stage." And so he
nice.
basically, we originally told him no at first because the time that his event was going to take place was the same time that my wife and I were going to go take our anniversary trip for our
Oh,
27th anniversary. And after a couple of rounds of going back and forth, he finally said, "Look, I've looked at other MCs, other event coordinators, and nobody can do what I saw you do in Dallas. I need you to come." And so I said, "Listen, the only way this is going to work is if I bring my wife and we stay a couple extra days to be able to have our weekend trip like we were thinking of planning going down to. Uh, I don't even think I had an actual place where we were going. We were kind of going back and forth between New Orleans or Broken Bow, Oklahoma, which was kind of close to us. And when he said that, yeah, he'd go ahead and agree to pay for our airfare, our hotel, our accommodations, and work out negotiate. We negotiated on my pay for the event for those 2 days. Uh, we ended up going to Chicago for our anniversary. I had to do a little
uh,
bit of work, but then the rest of the time we enjoyed the sights, the sounds, the everything that Chicago had to offer, which was really awesome.
okay. Dang. Before we move, how was Chicago to you?
Man, Chicago was great. I'll tell you something funny about Chicago
Okay.
is the same thing that happened to me in Dallas. happened to me in Chicago. There was another person at that Chicago event that was going to be having an event back in Dallas, and a guy that was having an event in Milwaukee later on, and they both reached out to me and said, "Hey, we would love for you to do what you just did here in Chicago at my event in Dallas." So we were able to, that was in May. We set up his event in May for his, we were able to MC that event in May. And then that was for, if you're familiar with Zig Ziglar, the Ziglar Corporation, they have what's called a coaches summit. They invited me to go be the MC for that coaches summit. And then one of the speakers at that other event was also speaking at the Ziglar Coaches Summit. He invited me to go be an MC at his event in June in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which was the Christian Coaches Academy. And then through all of that, one of the people that found us on social media through posting of the event MCs that we had been doing is doing a business retreat at sea with some incredible speakers. It's going to be a cruise, a 6 day, a 6 night, 7 day cruise to the Turks and the Caicos Islands, and they're having a business retreat for personal growth, development, and she invited me to be the MC on that event. And so from that one event that I did for my friend, just to see how it would work, see how we could add more energy to, we ended up creating a whole new stream of income for my brand, Fun Life Coaching.
Wow, nice. Okay. Next question. Who are you now outside of real estate and life coaching?
Oh man, outside of real estate and fun coaching, man, I'm just a guy that loves to enjoy life, loves to live life, have fun, go out there, have a good time, just chill. Don't take life too seriously, right? One guy said we're not going to get out of it alive, so go out there and do your thing. What we really do is, we give back to our communities. We serve at our church. I volunteer on several nonprofit boards as president, vice president, VP of PR relations, community relations. I always believe that, giving back to the community that helped you be successful in what you do for a living is just my way of saying thank you.
Okay. You two are you're also a Toastmaster?
Yeah.
Nice.
Easy way to-
Nice.
Yeah, we
Nice, nice.
meet we meet on Fridays. We meet on Fridays from 11:30 to 12:30 Central Standard Time. And man, that's a really neat story because last year when I joined, it was mid-year or it was first of the year, but the president resigned, and so I got to be able to come in about halfway through the year as an interim president, and the club was on a decline. It had been in existence since 1938, and they were kind of slowly declining, but it was the only time frame that would work for me. I actually joined Toastmasters in 2019 and my schedule had changed so that I couldn't go to my normal club. So I found this club, and when I joined the club, they were telling me, "Hey, the club might not make it." And I was like,
Uh,
"Okay, well, I'll go as long as I can." And turned out that they ended up making me their president because the other guy basically, was out. And whenever we whenever the new year came around, we went ahead and they just made me their president again, and we were two members shy of making our roster, or we were going to get suspended. And about a week and a half, 2 weeks before that, our last meeting for us to qualify, I got on my phone, got on my phone. I called, I texted, I emailed, I dropped a voice note. I think I lost count at over 70 people to get them to the event, to get them to, we basically turned it into an open house. And of the 70 plus people that we called and we emailed and we sent a text message, invited, only 9 or 10 of them showed. But out of those 9 or 10 that showed, four became new members. So not only did we get our membership that we needed, we actually got to the next level distinguished that we weren't even trying to hit. But because the people that came, they joined, and the club is now growing. We've got some people that have came. They did their icebreakers today, and just exciting to see that club now start to kind of go where it was kind of dwindling down. That club is now emerging as a pretty, fast and growing club.
ah, Okay. Okay. So, what do you think? What do you think should be the lesson for people who want to try out Toastmasters?
Go, go. I mean, if one thing I found out in Toastmasters is I've always been good at doing sales training in private group setting. Like I feel really comfortable. But when you put me up in front of a group of people, that's a different story. And it wasn't until I went to Toastmasters and really developed and honed in on that public speaking skill of being able to deliver the message instead of in private, in public. And I come to find out that being a public speaker is really nothing more and nothing less than a transference of confidence. And you really, even before you develop the confidence, you have to develop the courage to go to the club, to go, just sit in. You don't even have to join, just go in and take it in, get familiar with it. What we found out more than not is that everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a voice. And once you find out the formula or the format, or in my analogy, the recipe, I love cooking. Once you find out the recipe to your favorite meal, man, you can make it as many times as you want. And now, anytime I'm asked to speak, to volunteer, to pray, I do some MC work for some our local Rotary parades, the local Rose Parade. I MC those events. I'm MCing these other events that I'm now able to get paid for. And it's incredible because all of that confidence, all of the courage that I got from Toastmasters has basically converted me into a completely different person. So if you haven't talked to me in about a year or a year and a half, I'm an entirely different person from when I was just 2 years ago.
Okay. And next is what is your values, purpose, passion, and strengths?
Man, my values is, faith, family, God, and really when put in the proper perspective, I use the word joy. For always, in what we do, we always talk about putting God first, Matthew 6:33. And then we always want to do the O stands for others, J for Jesus, O for others. And the book that I read says that you want to love your neighbor as yourself. So you always want to, help others. And then the last letter for that joy is Y, you, put everything in proper perspective, right? It's that Stephen Covey thing that put first things first. And once you're able to take care of those primary needs and primary relationships and everything that needs to take care, all of a sudden you're able to get to that fun spot because as I tell my people and I developed a speech around it, fun is serious business. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners that are not having fun in their business. And it's because they've lost a little bit of their why they started that business in the first place. They've allowed the problems and the complexities of life to kind of overwhelm them in a way, but I have a really unique ability, my talent and my skill. I think my claim to fame is I'm able to simplify the complex because the way I learned it was that complexity is the enemy of execution. And if you just use the KISS formula, I don't know if you're familiar with what KISS stands for.
Keep it
It stands,
simple,
yeah,
STUPID.
yeah, keep it simple, superstar.
Super. Oh, superstar.
Keep it simple, superstar, or keep it super simple. And once you keep it super simple and keep the main thing, right? One of the books I love to read with my real estate professionals is when I put them through my private coaching program is the book from Gary Keller, his one thing. And if you were to just summarize that one book into this one thing, he always asks, what's the one thing that you, Nigel, that you can do right now that such by doing so would make everything else easier or unnecessary. And once you're able to identify what that is, everything else doesn't matter.
Okay. And next is why do you do what you do?
Man, I do what I do just simply because in 2018 we had a pretty unfortunate situation happen, and it was one of those things where if I didn't step out of my comfort zone and really act on what I believe to be true, there was literally people's lives at stake. And I thought about that in retrospect, right? They say hindsight is 2020. I believe that happens to a lot of people in some form or fashion. And so my story is really kind of everybody's story with a couple of little different variances. And if they would just simply act on what they know that they need to do, what they're going to find out is that whatever it is that they're afraid of is on the other side of that decision that they're afraid to make. Whether it's start a new business, whether it's reach out to a friend, call a family member, forgive somebody for something that they felt that they did, they've been done wrong, whatever that might be. Once you start to really kind of look at keeping the main thing, you really find out that you're not living up to your full potential. And so it's my goal to be able to help all the people that I come in contact with to be able to reach that next level of whatever that is for them, mentally, spiritually, physically, in their finances, in their family, in their personal life, in their career life, in their community, whatever that looks like. And as long as you understand and know, I like to gamify everything. And if you've ever played a video game, you know that to get to the next level, you're going to have to master a few things. You're going to have to overcome a few obstacles. You're going to have to, get past the old version of yourself because what got you here won't necessarily get you there. You're going to have to, I like to use the Super Mario's because that's kind of my age group, right? But you had to get the star, you had to get the mushroom, you had to get bigger, you had to get the immunity, you had to learn where the traps are, you had to learn where the dips were. If not, you fall off into the abyss. Then luckily at the game you get to start over. In life, if you
You
make a
don't.
bad mistake, you got to be careful with that. And so that's where we're able to use that and help people to kind of like Toastmasters, we're able to help them to develop their speaking skills in a safe, controlled environment, positive environment, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And in coaching, we do the same thing for them there. It's a lot of times it's done via Zoom, coaching one-on-one. If you're in the area that I can coach at, we'll do it in person. But right now, we've got coaching clients literally all over the world. We've talked to people in Europe, South Africa, all over the country, Canada. We've got some
Yep.
people in Canada. So there's a lot of things that can be done because of this technology. And it's just a matter of you opening up yourself and be willing to invest in yourself to get to whatever that next level for every individual is. And so I'm excited about this podcast because you're starting out, you're growing, you're developing, and before you know it, man, there's no telling who you're going to be able to invite. I just recently invited a person to my podcast that I've been trying to get on.
Really?
Yeah, and he's a national. He's got that Calvert Roberts deal. He's honorary Toastmaster. I mean, his name is Jim Cathcart,
Whoa.
and he's got his own speaking institute. And
Oh,
instead of actually calling him up and telling him, "Hey, I want you to come on my podcast," I went to an interview that he did with somebody else on their podcast on a Zoom meeting training, and then at the end they open it up for questions, Q&A. And I said, well, I don't necessarily have a question, more so than a statement. I led into my statement. I led into my indirect selling. I indirectly told them of our podcast that we have for Christian entrepreneurs and kind of gave them my mission statement. And without asking him to be a guest on my podcast, he stepped up and said, Johnny, I would love to come and be a guest on your podcast.
nice. So, what is your podcast about?
So my podcast is the called the Childlike Faith Podcast, and
Oh,
it's primarily for the Christian entrepreneur who wants to grow and scale their business to be able to achieve the financial freedom they're looking for without sacrificing their time, their family, their faith, or their joy. We are in our 400 and I think it's like 454th episode that we've
oh.
been we've been doing this on. So we've got a few episodes under our belt. It's not perfect. It's not like your fully monetized podcast, but we just get on there, keep it real, keep it simple. We record, we don't edit, we shoot it up there however it comes out, and that's we just go.
Ah, okay. So, here we go. Considering you're in real estate, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get into real estate?
Really by accident. And I really do real estate lending. But because I came out of the financial background, I've been doing finance since 2003. So that's been a little while. And I got into car dealership finance, and then I got into banking in 2014, and then I got into mortgages, real estate lending in 2018, and I've just kind of stayed in it. And it's where I got into real estate lending that I saw that there was a little disconnect for real estate agents who needed a little bit more training, a little bit more coaching, a little bit better, business savvy or just business ideas, concepts, how to grow and scale their business. Because as a real estate agent, you're technically a business owner, an entrepreneur. They just don't use that title, but you require to sell a product to somebody in order for you to get paid a commission. And if you don't sell something to somebody, nobody makes any money and you don't get paid. So we just started to kind of help them develop the ability to grow and scale their real estate business so that they can close more deals and help achieve whatever financial freedom or whatever dream that they were trying to realize.
Okay. And what attitude or characteristics should a person have to be in real estate?
Oh man, resilience, stick to itiveness. Real estate isn't something you go and you try out. That's the biggest mistake that I've seen in real estate is they're like, well, I'm going to try real estate. Nah. It's like going over and kind of dipping your toe in the water to see if the water's cold. Sometimes with real estate, you got to be all in. You got to be committed. Even talking with the podcast that I remember celebrating our 200th episode. We're like, wow, we hit 200, and we were gonna celebrate 400, and we forgot to because we were doing the episode. We forgot to celebrate 400, and so we kind of went back and celebrated 450 episodes. But you get so busy in what you're doing, you get so involved in what you're doing that the money just kind of takes care of its place. The money just kind of takes care of itself because you're out there, you're not selling real estate, you're providing a service. You're actually serving at the highest level. I mean, a home is probably one of the biggest investments people are going to make. And when done properly, empathetically, with the servant's heart, with the right mindset and the right frame of mind, knowing that, hey, I'm not just going to sell you one home, I'm going to sell you all of your homes. Matter of fact, I want you so happy and so satisfied with the service that we give you that if, Nigel, you ever decide or you hear of a friend or a family member or a coworker say that they're going to sell or buy a home, I want you to feel so confident that you're going to refer them to me so that I can give them the same level of value that you got. Because of your great experience, I want to be able to help somebody else. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of real estate agents out there that do that. And so that's why we coach them on how to train and develop and grow their business by being able to put people first.
Okay. And okay, so what's your suggestions on people wanting to buy their first home?
Oh man, definitely go to your local bank, go to your local lender, somebody that you're familiar with that's going to kind of give you the nuts and bolts of getting pre-qualified. And not just because you get qualified for that amount doesn't necessarily mean that you should buy that amount because you still got taxes, insurance. There's so many things that are taken into consideration that a lot of people don't think of. They don't think of that, they don't have a lawnmower, they don't have a weed eater, they don't have patio furniture, they don't have all this stuff that a house is going to need that an apartment doesn't. Or if they're moving from their parents' house into their very first home because they just got married, there's a lot of things that they're going to need a dining room table. They're going to need pots and pans. They're going to need, and so the biggest mistake that I see people do is they don't have enough, we call it reserves, set aside for a lot of those extra little incidental things. And so they end up having dinner on a little folded up card table because they didn't have money to buy nice dining room furniture or they're sitting around on donated couches and sofas because they didn't have enough money saved put aside to buy them a nice living room set. Not a real expensive one. You know, the big leather sectional that we have now was a crazy amount. I would have never paid for it my first time go around. But our first couch was a donated couch. And I see that too many times when people buy their home. there's so many things that they're not thinking about. And so I always put myself in their shoes and I ask a few more questions than your average lender does to make sure that we set you up for success, not just this time, but down the road.
Okay. And what are the steps in buying your first home?
Yeah, just getting pre-qualified. Getting pre-approved. They're going to ask you for your bank statements. They're going to ask you for your pay stubs. They're going to ask you for a couple different documents that you're going to be able to provide. You're going to have to get a credit check to see if you got valid credit to be able to qualify for these loans. And too many times, without getting into too much detail, you have to be able to differentiate a what's called a revolving account um, from a regular account. We call those kind of like an auto loan or a home loan, or if you've never bought a home before, maybe something like a personal loan, which are kind of like your regular loans versus your credit cards that are revolving. And so you have to kind of look at those differences between um, your credit and what it's made up of, the content, the types of loans. How long have you had those lines of credit? Are they fairly new? Have you made at least, has that line of credit been established for at least 12 months? A seasoned account? It's really easy to have a 700 credit score when you have three accounts and you've only, made three payments on a little, school loan or a credit card, but that really hasn't established you, as a 12, like if you had had accounts that were 12 to 24-month-old accounts.
Okay, and is it important to keep those accounts active?
Yeah. Yeah, I would even say if you've got an account that you're not going to use, I wouldn't necessarily suggest you close the account. I would suggest you keep it open until you're completely done with it. Because we've had people who have closed those accounts and their credit score drop. Because remember earlier I said, how long has this account been established? If you close your longest standing account, then it's going to default back to your next longest standing. And I get it. A lot of people love the Dave Ramsey stuff, and I've gone through it. I agree somewhat with all of his stuff. Um, but at some point, you're going to need some type of credit, some type of line of credit. I use credit cards. We charge our credit cards up, and we pay them off at the end of the month. So we do it. We get it for our bonus points, our Amazon points, our frequent flyer miles, all that stuff, our cash back, our Sam's card, all that stuff. But if you, I tell even like I tell my son, don't put anything on that card that you're not able to pay off at the end of the month. And plus, you're able to mitigate a lot of the risk from all of these uh, hacks that are happening on people's accounts. Because if somebody hacks into your debit card, man, that's so much more different than if somebody hacks into your credit card. Your credit card, you have some recourse from your credit card company, but at the bank, if they get into your checking account, man, that money's pretty much gone.
Okay, and what resources are available for people wanting to buy a home? For example, loans, etc.
Yeah, here in the United States, man, we have anywhere from, Federal Housing Administration FHA loan that you can do with 3.5% down. First time buyers program. You got down payment assistant loans. You've got 3% down loans. Some programs have no down payment, where you don't have to have any money, depending on where the house is located. If it's in a rural area versus a metropolitan area. You've got some programs like VA. If you've served for the military and you have a VA, if you're a veteran, you can actually get a VA loan where you don't have to have any money down, very little money for closing. A lot of the fees are waived. There's a lot of benefits, and the main thing is just getting with a loan officer or a lender that is very familiar with those loans to see which one you qualify best for. We did a program a while back where the gentleman was a veteran, and we were going to use a veteran loan. We found out that there was actually a better loan that we were able to help him get approved for, or maybe it was backwards. It might be vice versa. He wanted to do a conventional loan. We ended up going VA. It's been a little while, but we had options, and so we put the two options side by side, and we ended up going up with the VA loan versus the. I want to say it was another no money down loan, but it was a better option for him just because of his his debt to income ratios, and that's a whole nother story in and of itself that you have to kind of be aware of. So.
And will any of these suggestions you've said so far work everywhere in the world, including Canada or the
Yeah,
UK?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those lending laws up there. I know here in the United States, pretty much every bank, there's some banks that have their own programs that I don't have access to. We have access to a lot of the more popular loans, like your FHAs and your USDAs, your conventional loan programs, your VAs, your down payment assistance programs. You've got there's other land loans out there that are available to you. I'm just not familiar or or well versed enough in the Canadian laws and the UK laws to be able to see, what they look for whatever criteria it is that they look for to get you eligible or qualified for a home loan.
Okay, okay. In your opinion, why is home ownership important?
Man, it just gives you something to call home. I can't remember the person who did it, but they said that they took the land mass of the United States and they divided it up by the inhabitants of the earth. And every person, I can't remember if it was 6 acres or 16 acres, every person should be able to own at least 6 acres, 6 or 16 acres. I'll have to go back and look at the research, look at the data to be able to call it theirs. And obviously, a lot of the land mass is not populated. Look at Antarctica or Greenland or some of the part of Canada. We were doing some research on Canada not too long ago and found out that 90% of Canada is up along the border. There's not much north of you guys, you know. So you just have to kind of find out, why is it important to you to be a homeowner? I think it's because you're able to grow value in your home. You're able to, like the home that we first lived in, we only paid 90 90 for it. When we sold it for almost 200,000, and we were able to take that money and invest it into the new home. Um, Rolled all that equity over into that. The home had appreciated in value, and got into our home that we currently live in now. We updated it, more modern, more bells and whistles to this home than we had that last one. And it's just for somebody that's just looking to get started in home ownership. I think that's one of the biggest investments you can make early on, because depending on the housing market, even if it's not exactly where you want it to be, my mentor always said, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Because what's going to eventually happen is that value of that property is going to go up, because that's the one thing in the world they're not making any more of is there's not even much more new dirt out there. So just buy what you can, when you can, where you can.
Okay. Since you said earlier that the suggestions you mentioned only work in the US, do you know of any suggestions about real estate for people outside the US?
Man, you know what? I probably should have done a little bit more digging into that. I do not. But I know that if you are able to call your local financial institution and ask them to see what their loan programs are, they're probably going to be definitely well versed at helping you guys find out what programs are available to be able to help you in whatever situation is that you're looking at, whether it's first time home buyer, maybe you have some not so perfect credit, or maybe you just need to go ahead and fix some credit, that you need to go ahead and pay some debt down to be able to increase your capacity to borrow. There's so many strategies. And that's one of the things that I love to do is I love to do what's called a home ownership mortgage strategy before we even fill out an application. Just because you have the credit to buy a home, the income to buy a home, the right strategy, do you need to go 15-year or should you go 30-year? Could we pay it off and could we set up a 10-year mortgage? There's a lot of things that you can go back and forth on, but it's a matter of doing your homework, really.
Okay. And okay, so 10. So how did you become a life coach and what's it like being one?
So that was kind of by accident. I didn't really set out to, hey, I'm going to be a life coach one day. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, uh, we noticed that lending was still going pretty good, but there was a lot of people struggling. And so we were reaching out to kind of just encourage them, motivate them, inspire them, do something. And then we found out that you could actually get certified in becoming a coach. And so I got certified through the Zig Ziglar Corporation to be a speaker trainer and a coach because you weren't going to be able to speak all the time. And so when you're out doing a public speech, what you can find out is that that clientele, that community would more likely sign up for a coaching call with you or a coaching program with you, or you can invite them into a community. For example, we have a community of professionals that come together on the second Tuesday of every week at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we get on Zoom, we encourage, we motivate, inspire. If you have a problem going on in your business or in your life, you can bring it, then we all kind of just get together and help solve that problem for you. I'll give you my 2 cents. We'll have the other people lean into you. We call it the Cool Kids Club because we're all talking about the playground and childlike faith. And so we kind of lean into that methodology of, hey, listen, how can we simplify this? A lot of times we overcomplicate it, we overanalyze. And you've probably heard this before, right? We get oh goodness, we get procrastinating. I'm sorry, we get what is that whenever you get you don't make the move because you get paralysis by analysis, and you can't figure this thing out, so you don't do anything. And not doing anything is probably the worst thing you can do whenever you're faced with the situation, because you won't always make the right decision, but you can make a decision and then make it right. But too many times people get, I don't know if you guys have squirrels over there in Canada where you're from, and they're trying to
Yeah,
cross the
yeah.
road. They're trying to cross the
I think we
road.
do. We do.
Okay,
We
good.
just don't have
So
rats.
you get this squirrel that's trying to cross the road, and a car's coming, and it's trying to figure out stay on, stay off, stay on, stay off, and it gets paralysis by analysis, and before you know it, the car comes and runs it over. And if it would have just made the decision to get on or get off right then and there, that the first sign of that truck coming, he wouldn't have got hit. But he couldn't make up his mind. And a lot of times in the game of life, we get into that paralysis by analysis and we don't move. We stay stuck in our rut because we don't know what to do. And it's actually what happens is people get stuck. They get caught up in their comfort zone of not wanting to move outside of their comfort zone. They're afraid, they're scared, they don't know what to do. And so because they don't know what to do, they don't do anything. And before you know it, 5 years, 10 years has come by and you've lived the same life the same year after year for the next 5, 10 years. And so I like to ask people, how would it feel if in the next 12 months, the only thing that changed was your age? You
Oh,
didn't
wow,
make
that's
more
deep.
money, you didn't make more friends, you didn't get better, you know? And so I don't want that for any of my clients. And so we challenge them, we make them, kind of challenge their limiting beliefs of what's possible, of what they're capable of doing on this earth while they're here.
Okay. And okay, here we go. Last question before we go to the last segment.
Uh,
What's your opinion on the current housing crisis? Do you see it going better in a few years or worse?
with the housing crisis thing, I always tell people that the housing market is never good or bad out there. It's only good or bad in here in your mindset. You can't control real estate. You can't control what the rates are going to do. But you can control whether or not you buy or don't buy a house. I had somebody ask me, well, would you buy a house right now in this current rate environment? Yes. Matter of fact, they did. On the house that I had a 2% interest rate that I was almost paid off. We'd lived in there for years. It was almost paid off, but somebody made me an offer on it, and I found another house that I liked. So I sold mine, paid off some debt, got into this house, and it's over 6%. And I think the only problem is that people are too worried that they're not going to be able to make enough money, and they're focusing, they're operating out of the scarcity mindset, when if they would just simply tap into the abundance mindset, the housing crisis isn't really a crisis. It's kind of the way I learned it was the problem is not the problem. The problem is the way you see the problem. You're thinking about the problem. Because every problem that we come in contact with in our coaching programs is that every problem has within itself the seed of its own solution. And so inside every problem, there's not just a solution, there's an opportunity. And so we always look for that opportunity for income, for prosperity, for growth, for a learning. We always say that we don't ever lose in life. Either we win or we learn. And when you learn, you can't really fail, right? If you learn from your lesson, from your failure, was it really a failure?
So, I think I mean I know I mentioned this. I know hold on, when it comes to the current housing crisis, I think you answered some yes some of it earlier, but I'd like to ask again. I'd like to ask part of it. Do you see the current housing crisis going better in a few years or worse?
Um, Kind of back to earlier. I don't think there's a better or a worse. It's I don't necessarily care what the rest of the country is doing. I don't really care what the rest of the world is doing. It's is my economy, is my housing situation fixed? Am I taking care of me? And so I always use the analogy of two circles, right? This circle right here, that is the things that I can control, and then there's this bigger circle of the things that I can't control. I tell people to focus so much on this circle that the things that they can't control and let it get so big that the things that they can't control don't matter. So I operate off of the abundance mindset, the positive mindset, and so I think it's getting better because even if interest rates go up, you might think it's getting worse, but it's an opportunity for somebody to make some great money, great investments. And it's not that things cost too much. What the problem is that right now, at your current reality, at your current state of level, at your current level of ability and talent, you can't generate the money necessary to be able to pay for whatever that product or service is that you want. And so, in order to be able to pay for that, you're going to have to increase your skill, your talent, your gifts, your abilities. There's so many things that happen, but too many times people fall to the negative mindset, the scarcity mindset, and say, well, things are just too expensive. But
Okay.
if things were too expensive, there wouldn't be people driving Lamborghinis. There wouldn't be people, flying airplanes. There wouldn't be people fly, you know, it's the lower mindset that has kept people broke and stuck for so long. You're gonna have I love reading and every single one of these books. I mean, I've paid anywhere from $1 for one book to up to upwards of $200 for another book. And it's not so much how much a book costs but how much it costs me to not have that information in that book that's going to help me be more, do more, have more. And the more I earn, the more I can give. And I cannot give that which I don't possess. And that's why I tell people that it's so important for you to invest in yourself. Because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, um, I don't know what to tell you. So I might not be everybody's favorite speaker or coach, but I know the people that I've helped. Man, they love it.
Okay. So one last question before I think I said that before, but earlier, but I think okay, just one last question before the next segment, the last segment, by the way. How long have you been a real estate agent and a life coach?
So I'm actually a real estate lender, and I
Okay,
got my
so a lender.
license in 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
2018, and I've been a coach. I've been a certified. I've been coaching. You know, I called it sales training. I've been doing sales training for 20 years, maybe more. But officially licensed as a coach since 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how long have you been in Toastmasters?
2019 was my first when I
Oh,
first walked into
dang,
the
I
club.
forgot. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Sorry about that. But all right. Let's. Okay. Here. Okay. This is this. Okay. This is a one last segment.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it with Sean last episode. So sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
This last segment is called quick fire. So quick fire is it's simple. Answer as much questions quickly in 90 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Are you ready, Johnny?
Ready.
All right, here we go. In three, two, one. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Okay. Oreos or Chips Ahoy?
Ugh. Neither, but if I had to pick Oreo,
Okay. One floor home or two floor home?
one floor.
Oh, one floor. One and why is that?
That's just what we have.
Oh, okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Okay. Vanilla or strawberry?
Strawberry.
Okay. Mantra and life.
I would probably say the one I currently have now, and that's the one that says that you can have everything in life you want if, conditional statement, if you'll help enough other people get what it is that they want.
Okay. Best restaurant in your area for a good meal.
Man, it's really hard. A friend of mine that has a taqueria, it's called C Rojos. We love to go over there, man. It's great.
Okay, but how about in Dallas? Is Taylor near Dallas?
Yeah, we're about an hour and a half, 2 hours east of there. In the Dallas area, man, I'll find a taqueria hole in the wall any day
Okay,
over the chains.
all right. Okay, so best restaurant in Dallas.
Mm, I would probably say it's a steakhouse. It's called Ruth's Chris. Ruth Chris.
Okay. Okay. Best. Okay. What inspires you each day?
Man, what inspires me each day is just simply the fact that there's somebody out there somewhere struggling. And my goal is to get to them before somebody with a negative mindset or somebody with a negative plan for their life does. Because people, I call it, if they don't get a checkup from the neck up, what happens is that they make bad decisions. And they make bad decisions whenever they don't have the proper input. So my goal is to get to these people before anybody else does. And my way of doing that is I go live every morning on social media, Monday through Saturday for about 10, 15 minutes and I just deliver a message of hope, inspiration, getting people to go on there and just get something new in, something positive, something powerful, something productive. My coach says that what you feed your mind determines your appetite. And so I want to give them something good, clean, pure, positive, so that they can have a good day that day, and then have a good week, have a good month, have a good quarter, have a good year, have a good life.
Okay. Okay. So favorite food?
Mexican tacos.
Oh yeah. No, no. I see. The best artist you love to listen to.
The best what?
The best artist you love to listen to.
Ah, man, I don't think I really have one. Yeah, I don't really have one. I listen to a lot of gospel music, church music, but I don't really have like a favorite artist.
All right. Okay. I think I believe the timer's done now.
All right, perfect.
All right. So first of all, thank you for this podcast. It was nice listening to you, sir.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the
All right.
invite.
All right. All right. You're welcome. So here we go. Let's take a screenshot. All right. All right. Again. Thank you for this podcast.
Awesome, man. And what